the next generation of lifestyle awareness that will transform your life significantly. Hi, welcome to Living Wow Out Loud. I'm your host, Callie Ray, founder of the Living Wow Center and author of the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases. Living Wow is a lifestyle of choice and intention that was born from the truths that, number one, your body is designed to heal if you give it the environment to do so. Number two, you don't need a label or permission to be the expert in your own body. And number three, more than 80% of all diseases can be prevented or reversed by lifestyle. Unfortunately, this isn't what we're taught in our standard American diet and lifestyle culture. This podcast is a voice of hope and community where you will learn how to live a life of thriving that honors and embraces those three truths. Though you are an individual, you are not alone, and you can thrive living wow too. Welcome back to Living Wow Out Loud. I'm your host, Callie Ray, and today we are talking about season change. Welcome to summer. Today in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the first day of summer. And season change is something that is really, really foundational in Living Wow. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to change what I was planning to talk about today and make sure that we discuss season change because it's very, very relevant and it's very foundational. Living Wow is a lifestyle of intention and choice. And part of that is honoring the seasons. I first was introduced to season change back when I was doing the Body work and the Chinese medicine. And she introduced me to a book. In fact, I'm going to show you. It's called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And the author is Elson Haas, spelled Haas, MD. And it's an older book. It was actually published back in the early 80s. But this time of year, or at each season change, I should say, I pull out my book and I flip to the chapter about the season that's coming up because it really goes, even though at this point I have very much a seasonal rhythm and I'm always very in tune to the change that's happening. But I love to just go back and look at what are the elements associated with this season? How does this season manifest in the organ function? Because I find it fascinating and I'm not yet a master of that. So I still like to go back. So if you want a little bit more foundational information, more traditional information about thriving with the season, or it's called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And I just think it's fantastic. So if you want to take a peek at that, there's a little nugget for you. I like when people tell me about different resources that they use that help them get where they are. So, that is one that is a foundation that I still use with the season changes. So today I want to talk specifically about summer because we're going into summer, but we also have listeners from all over the world. So I know that many of you are in the Southern Hemisphere, and so you are actually going into winter. So I'll address that and we'll go into all of the season change today. But I'm going to come back to summer because that's what is relevant to us here in the Northern Hemisphere, to me here in the United States. First, I want to really point out to you why it matters. I think that we, in our culture of SAD, the standard American diet and lifestyle, right? That's just the modern culture that we live in. We've forgotten about season change. And depending on where you live, if you live in a more temperate climate, you may not have a true 4 seasons with your climate. And so it looks different for you. But know that regardless of the temperatures, they certainly affect our activity. But in our sad life, it doesn't, right? We just turn on the air conditioner in the summer and turn on the furnace in the winter or stoke more logs on the fire, right? It seems like we don't recognize, we don't acknowledge and respect the season changes the way our ancestors did, the way historically our bodies are created to do. And so I found this pattern early on in my transformation. This was key when I realized, oh my gosh, every single winter going into, so actually it was in the fall between September and October, or in September and October, I almost always would get bronchitis. And then it would linger on through the entire year. I would have this deep bronchial cough that I just couldn't shake. But it always started in that fall season change. And I started to recognize that my body needs something different in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, and in the summer. Our rhythm is different. The foods we eat are different. The days are longer or shorter, right? So ignoring that and just working day in and day out and not even giving a nod to the fact that we've changed seasons is part of, I believe, it's part of why I had the kind of breakdown I would have, because I am wired. I'm a spring birthday. I think there's a real reason that I feel like I'm dying in the winter. And then in the spring, I feel like I'm waking up and I'm coming alive. And summer is like full throttle. And I like to run at full throttle, right? And so summer is my time. And then I forget to put the brakes on in the fall and change my rhythm. And so I crash. My body's like, whoa, no, no, we're not going to run like we're in summer. It's winter. And so my body would shut itself down historically because I didn't catch the messages. I wasn't listening to nature. I wasn't following the cues. So now it's really a critical part of thriving with autoimmune diseases. It's actually relevant whether you have autoimmune diseases or not. Okay? This is my autoimmune diseases are what cracked the case for me and helped me to understand the importance of the seasons, but it's relevant to all of us. Okay. I don't care who you are. Seasons matter. And if you can learn to embrace them and celebrate them instead of bemoan them, like I always do, right? I'm always bemoaning it getting colder and the days getting shorter because I like light. I like energy. I like movement. I like being outside. And so I complain too much about the season change going into winter. And I've learned that. So now I realize this is my opportunity to rest and restore, to go deep and to do those things that I've really cultivated a love for in the past probably 5 years. I really appreciate winter now and need that time to restore so that I'm ready for all of the things that I have in my mind, all my ideas and activities that I want to do in the spring and in the summer. So regardless of where you are, I just hope that you come away from this episode today with A, an awareness, B, an appreciation, and C, maybe some action plans of ways that you can optimize this season change. Okay. It's either the 20th, 21st, or 22nd. And as I get closer to it, I look it up and I start planning, right? So I usually start about a week ahead of the season change in kind of preparation and kind of getting ready. And then the week of the season change, I usually will have some sort of cleanse. This season change, I did a day of fast, so a 24-hour fast, and then a 3-day juice cleanse to kind of get things lighter and ready for more fresh and lighter foods. And then I'll go into my supercharge, which I usually do the 1st to the 10th of the month. At season change, I scooch it back and I do it around the season change. With the supercharge, I cut out dairy, I cut out gluten, I cut out sugar, caffeine. I don't drink alcohol anyway, but if I did, that is something that I cut out in Supercharge. It's just a really clean, light foods so that my body can get ready and be optimal, thriving in the summer season, right? So it's not too much of a change from my normal routine, but it's enough to give a nod to the fact that we go from, warmer in the spring. We're still having some casseroles and soups and things like that. And then in the summer, it tends to be really light, lots of smoothies, lots of salads, fresh fruits and vegetables is the majority of my diet. And so I kind of transition my body with that. So that's what it looks like on that part of it. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're doing the opposite. You're kind of going from going into those root vegetables, those warmer foods, more meat, more dairy, more grains, because you're warming your body. Summer is kind of out and light, and winter is kind of inward and heavier, if that makes sense. I tend to have a much more dramatic season change between summer and fall and winter and spring, because we're changing. We're going from this huge lots of energy and starting to take it in and slow down. And so I tend to do a more extreme cleanse. So I might do like a 3 or 5 day fast, and then go into a more dramatic, maybe an elimination diet, where you're cutting out everything that is problematic for you. For me, it's inflammatory foods. So I cut out meat, red meat. I might cut out all meat, but usually it's, it just depends on what you're sensitive to. And if you have allergies, that is a huge red flag that there's something going on in your microbiome. So that doesn't mean you can't ever eat them. I guess it depends on the type of allergy, but just know that it's a sign that something it's an indicator light, right? It's telling you that your body doesn't tolerate it well. So I feel like that season change is a good time to do those more dramatic kinds of inventories or diets, where I'll cut out everything that is problematic for me and then systematically add it back in to see, oh, yep, that one, I don't feel good when I eat that. I get joint pain when I eat that, those kinds of things. And then to go to work on my microbiome of fixing and repairing so that my body is assimilating and managing it properly and not thinking that that food is actually poison. So I've talked about this a lot in season 1, and it doesn't matter what season it is. Processed food is poison. Those whole foods are good for you, and you can build up a tolerance and an ability to eat them when your body is healed. Season change is a good time to kind of do some of those inventories. If you have a functional medicine doctor, a nutritionist, someone who can help you with that, to dial it in for your body, that's really, really helpful. But you are the expert in your body. If there is nothing else you come away from this podcast knowing, I hope that you're empowered to be the expert in your body and know what you can do on your own and when to seek professional help, and to know that you're an active partner in your health. So that's a little bit of a soapbox, but a season change is a really good time for you to be able to take those inventories. Okay. Especially in those big season changes when you want to be primed and ready to go in the spring. So getting rid of all that heavy winter, and lightening up for spring so that you can start cultivating and planting all of the things that you planned for in the winter. Right. And then in the fall, that kind of getting ready to rest, right? Cleaning house so that you can go deep and rest into the winter. And I have found that that is critical for me. When I do that, I do not flare. It's rooted in the seasons. So that's why we're starting with the seasons today. Let's see. I think we've talked about all of the kind of the characteristics. I hope that you're getting the idea of why it matters, right? The days change, the length of light changes, the elements, how it impacts in our body changes, nature, the growth and the rest, those, just seeing those seasons, when you start to look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I miss that? Well, we missed it because we were living sad, and we turn on the lights and we turn on the air conditioner. We live in a very constant state in sad, and we aren't changing and flowing with the seasons, right? And so if we're not flowing, then we're getting stagnant and we're getting blocks and we're getting dis-ease. And before we know it, we're suffering and we're surviving and we're in pain. And we're just like, what is this? It's aging? No, it's not. I almost cursed on my podcast. It's not aging. Yes, our bodies do slow. They change in the way they how quickly things replace and rebuild. Absolutely, our bodies do change and we do age, and I'm not arguing that. But does that equate to deterioration and pain? No, it does not. So you do not have to be surviving just because you're getting older, and you certainly don't have to just because you have autoimmune disease. So I do want to finish today. I kind of want to wrap up with this an assessment. I take this time to not only is it season change, but it's also mid-year, okay? And it's also end of second quarter. So just because of the way my business background, I kind of live my life in quarters, and I was doing that prior to the season change. As far as like goal setting and finances and things like that, I've always been on a quarter plan. So that's, first quarter is January through March, second quarter is April through June, third quarter is July through October, or July through September, and then fourth quarter is October through December. And so regardless of your season, the quarters are still there. I think they probably came from our tax system in the United States because of, the new year and taxes and all that kind of stuff. I always, and maybe it was because I had a business and so we paid our taxes. Our fiscal year was July 1 to June 30th. And then the calendar year is January 1st to December 31st. So in addition to the season change that happens now with our summer solstice, we have that end of second quarter and that mid-year. So it's like, okay, this is a time to kind of see, where am I at? Am I on track with my goals, or have I drifted? Do I need to retool? Do I need to reset? Because remember, I'm going into summer. So this is my time of growth and opportunity. So I want to make sure, as I'm in full throttle, that I'm full throttling the right direction. So I always take the last half of June, just like I do the last half of December. As I'm going into that winter change, I do the same thing in the summer, where really the focus, more so than on my diet and my system, it's more on my mind and my lifestyle. How am I doing? So I actually have gone through and updated. So I'll show you my planner. Third quarter, right? And so I spent some time this week making sure that I had July ready to go, updating my goals, and then had my weeks all set so that I can put in those big rocks, because if the big rocks aren't in there, they're not going to happen, right? And if you go back, I have 3 priorities a day, one for me, one for my family, and one for my business. And so then I also have my playbook pages that I can do a daily journal to kind of keep me on track. And so again, sometimes I drift, because that's Callie Ray. I have lots of ideas, lots of energy, lots of thoughts. And so I have a tendency to get off course if I don't have that structure. Third quarter, really good time to wrap up second quarter, first half of the year. How am I doing? Take an inventory. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to take an inventory at the season change for you to be able to go, okay, this is what I need to focus on in this second half of the year. If you're listening to this podcast and it's not either winter or summer season change, it's okay. You can do this at any time and it's still going to benefit you. Okay. But it's super, super relevant today. So grab a piece of paper and write down these numbers. Okay. We're going to go over the 7 systems of the Living Well framework. And I want you to rate from 0 to 10. So 0 being you have either no awareness of it, or it's something you really struggle with. It's not even on the radar. to 10 being, yes, you've mastered it. You totally have it. You are thriving. Okay. So the first system is energy. And energy, of course, is critical in summer, right? Do you have enough energy to be able to run full out, to be able to grow, to be able to put in, if you're thinking about like, right, we're taking cues from nature. So our plants, they had their roots in the summer, or we just planted those little seeds, and so they were digging down and they were shooting up, and now they're getting big enough they can take in the water and they can take in the sun, and now they're just gonna they're going to grow. They're going to start producing fruits and vegetables and flowers and just all sorts of seeds. It's just amazing things, right? Because nature does that. The baby animals, they're born. They have this huge growth. And by fall, they're at the size of their parents. In fact, the baby goslings that were born 2 months ago, I can't hardly tell the adolescents from the adults right now. They're so big. And it's been 2 months. So the growth is just huge. Do you have the energy for that growth? Are you ready? Do you have enough fuel in your tank? Are you energetic and ready for summer? Or are you exhausted and tired and just want to crawl in a hole? 0, 10. Number 2 system is food and water. Food and water is your fuel, right? And that changes in the summer. I alluded to that, right? For me, it looks like smoothies and salads, lots more fresh fruit and veg. I eat a lot of soups and stews and cooked foods in the winter, and in the summer, we're talking about more raw foods. And so are you dialed into those differences of nature? What's in season where you live? That's the first place you can start. What is in season? Do you have a farmer's market? Can you go see what the farmers are selling? Because if it's not at the farmer's market, it's not in season. And I tell you, I live in the high desert in North America, in Idaho. I love pineapple, mango, avocados. I love oranges and grapefruit, bananas. None of those are in season for me ever because I don't live in that climate. So the things that are in season for me, if I'm eating for season locally, I'm eating berries. My berries are going right now. All sorts of berries, lettuces, greens. My towers are just thriving right now. I've got peppers growing. This summer, it'll be peppers and tomatoes, eggplants, cucumbers, beans, peas, all those kinds of veg. That's what's in season where I live. Stone fruits, the peaches and apricots, cherries are on right now. Those are the kinds of things. Now, I love mangoes, but peaches are what's in season for me. So very similar kinds of palate. And if I'm living true to my body, to the seasons, I'm going to be eating the peaches rather than the mangoes, just because of where I live. Okay. So again, this is not a hard and fast rule. It doesn't mean you don't eat foods that aren't from where you live, because we live in a modern age where we're able to get those. And what a blessing and how cool that is, because my favorite foods are tropical. But just to know, take those cues from nature. And how are you doing? 0, you have no awareness. You just eat whatever's in front of you. It's usually frozen or it's a drive-through. Okay. That's down here in that really, that fuel is not going to get you thriving at all. Versus 10, you're eating for the seasons, you're eating locally, maybe you're even growing your own. You've got your food dialed in. Okay. And then also water. You're going to need to increase your water intake if it's summer, because summer you're sweating more, right? You're evaporating and even if you live in a humid climate, mine's very dry, but if you live in a humid climate, same thing. Your body is still, you're sweating, you're putting off that water. So your body needs that water. That's how it moves the nutrients through your system, is through water, good, clean water. All right. So how are you doing? 0, really need to work on your food and water intake. 10, you've got it dialed in. You've mastered it. Moving on. Number 3 is self-care and movement. Self-care and movement. Are you taking time for yourself? Are you moving your body? And again, summer is a time of activity. It's the time to get out and to do. I love water. So anything that is going to take me to the water, swimming, if I'm walking, if I'm biking, I like to be by the water, out in nature, right? Are you in nature? Are you getting out? Even on my days when I'm working in the summer, I find myself, if I have the opportunity, there's always time I have to stop and use the restroom, or somebody's canceled. And so I've got a little bit of time between patients or whatever, because I do home health. So I'm out and about. But in the summer, I am pulling in, I'm doing my breaks at a park, and I'm getting out and I'm walking, or I'm opening the sunroof of the car, right? So that I'm getting in that nature, getting in that sunlight. We have long days. I want to take it all in. So my movement looks different today. To celebrate the first day of summer, I'm going to go on my 5-miler walk because I can, and the weather is good. In the spring, you kind of start to get conditioned and moving, but in the summer is when it all happens. Swimming, biking, running, walking, whatever your thing, tennis, pickleball is a big, huge thing in the US right now. Soccer, baseball, just playing at the park, camping, fishing. I mean, the list is just endless. And it's summer, right? So are you active? Are you moving your body? Are you getting out in nature? Are you taking that in and filling your soul? Your body needs that. And you may be at a place where you have allergies, or you're photosensitive. I'm really lucky because my lupus actually is not, for some people, sun can be a trigger for their skin. For mine, it actually is healing. And I've learned that if I'm out for about 20 minutes and with as much skin exposed as possible, depending on where I am, right? Some things you just can't unsee. So I will spend 20 minutes in the sun intentionally to get that vitamin D influence, because I only get it about 3 months out of the year where I live. And then I make sure that I'm protecting against the sun. And that really is a perfect thing for my body. I'm a redhead, freckles, very light complexion. As you can tell, I blow out very quickly in the lights. For me, that works really well. And it keeps my skin very healthy. And it keeps my vitamin D levels. I feel great when I do that. Sometimes I know that some people don't do well in the sun, and some of it maybe the chemicals you're putting on to protect you from the sun. Sunscreen is not a healthy thing to put on your skin. Your skin is the biggest organ, right? And it absorbs. So everything you're putting on your skin goes into your blood. So that having those chemicals in your system is kind of like eating junk food. So it doesn't necessarily support, and that could actually be, you think that you're supporting and you're protecting your body, but you're actually damaging it. So just be aware of that. Similarly, some of the medications that we take for different conditions can make us photosensitive. And so it accelerates the skin damage from the sun because of the medications we're taking. So be aware of that. I find, like I said, I'll be intentional about being out for the 20 minutes unprotected. And then maybe I choose a sunscreen that I know is really clean and is not damaging to my system. For me, my rule of thumb for anything that goes on my skin, whether it's cosmetics or skincare, is, can I eat it? If it's safe enough for me to eat and put in my mouth, then that means it's safe enough for me to put on my skin, because it's all going to the same place realistically. Okay. So that's for me, a rule of thumb I use. If I can eat it, then I'm going to put it on my skin. If it's got questionable ingredients that I'm not going to ingest, if it says for external use only, it's probably not something I want to put externally either, because it's ultimately going to end up internally. Okay. So, a hat, or I'll cover up, I'll be in shade, but I'm still out. I still, like, for example, the other day, sitting courtside at my granddaughter's tennis match. I'm not going to miss that for the world. And it was sweltering hot. UV index of 10. So I'm gonna cover up, make sure I'm in shade, so that I'm not doing any damage. But I'm still outside. I'm still engaging in life. I'm not hiding from it. That's system 3. 0, if you're really struggling to take time for yourself and really not moving your body, you're just withdrawn and so busy taking care of everybody else, you don't have any time for yourself, so busy working, you can't get outside, you're in that same hamster wheel routine, whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall. Okay, that's going to be down here in the 0. up to a 10, you've got it figured out. You know exactly what your summer looks like. You know how your activities are different in the summer, what your demands are, what your abilities are, and what your interests are, where you want to be, what you want to be doing. Right? You want to be hiking a mountain, or do you want to be on the beach? You know, and you've got it dialed in. And more importantly, you have plans and you're going to make it happen. Okay. That's the 10. Number 4 are supplements. And this also changes seasonally. It should, right? You should not be taking the same supplements day in and day out. That's not what a supplement is. A supplement is to support areas that need more nutrients. They need a tweaking, right? So, for example, in the winter, I tend to have, like I already said, I don't get enough vitamin D because of where I live, and my body doesn't necessarily assimilate it as efficiently as it should because of the damage to my organs. I will always make sure I'm getting a lot of vitamin D with K in the winter. Additionally, I'll have usually some zinc and some vitamin C because I'm around a lot of sick people and I'm indoors a lot more in the winter. And then I always have my Juice Plus foundation, which is a little bit different because it is food. So it's not a true supplement that's isolated and targeting a specific organ or system. And so I have that all the time, but I do tend to adjust and take more in the winter. Again, if I'm around a lot of sick people, if I'm really overwhelmed and stressed, not that the holidays do that to anybody, right? But my winter supplementation looks different. Might add in some ashwagandha or some rhodiola, again, depending on my systems and what I'm needing. In the summer, right now, I'm pretty what I would call supplement light because I'm getting a lot of vitamin D, so I just have a vitamin D. I'm getting a lot of vitamin C and A and minerals because I'm eating a lot of raw food, and so a lot of green leafy vegetables. So I don't need as much of the isolated C and zinc and those kinds of supplements. I also eat a lot of herbs. I grow a lot of herbs. Those, if I'm getting them fresh, why would I take them in a supplement that is not nearly as effective anyway? Knowing your supplements, have you changed them? So as you're changing your fuel, you change your supplements, right? You shouldn't be taking the same thing all the time. That's not the point of a supplement, right? So the score 0 to 10. So either you don't supplement at all, or you're just taking what you thought you were supposed to take, like you've got your daily multivitamin that you take 365 regardless of how you're feeling or what's going on. Okay, that's going to be down here in the lower end, 0. And then you're adjusting for the seasons. You know what you're taking, why you're taking it. You adjust it based on your body and your lifestyle and the season, right? And that's going to be a 10. Number 5 system is the mind and intelligence. So this is your learning. This is your belief system. Are you open to the growth? Are you planning? Are you excited? Did you spend your spring cultivating ideas and opportunities? And now in the summer, you're ready to take them on and receive them and fertilize and water and grow those opportunities? Or are you different today than yesterday? Tomorrow doesn't matter. Very limiting beliefs, lots of fear and scarcity mentality. Been there. That was my MO. That's where my autoimmune diseases were born, is living in that mindset. So what is the tape you have playing in your head? What is your mind telling you it can or cannot accomplish? What environment are you allowing yourself to be in that is supporting or defeating you? Okay, so 0, 10. 10 is that you are thriving. You've got your dreams by the tail and shooting for the moon, and you know exactly what you're doing, how you're going to get there, and you are thriving. You have an unlimited mindset and you are just going for it. Okay, that's your mind. 0 to 10, mind and intelligence. Another thing that might fall in that is like, what are you planning? Like, that was one of the things that I noticed when I was doing my goals. One of my goals this year is to learn Spanish. And when I got honest with myself and went, okay, how am I doing on that? Well, I've picked up some words and some concepts, but I retooled that goal a little bit to kind of hold myself a little more accountable and have a little more growth in the summer when I should and can, right? So I made it, instead of just learning Spanish, this real nebulous goal that I've had for years, I said, I'm going to learn, I'm going to be conversational this year. So I'm going to get to the point where I'm not just recognizing some words and I don't just have a core vocabulary of a few things, but I can actually have a conversation, not fluent. I don't expect to be fluent by the end of the year, but I'd like to be conversational by the end of the year. So I expect that I'm going to set up my summer so that I have opportunities to learn and grow that goal. Okay, so that would also fall in that system. Number 6 is your spirit. The number 6 system in the Living Well framework is your spirit. And so your spirit is that voice of truth, right? Who you were born to be, who you really are. Are you slowing down and listening? Do you trust that voice of truth inside of you? Or are you like, let me down before, I'm not really sure I can trust you? Maybe feeling a little bit broken, a little bit betrayed by your body. And so not really sure about that's mind, body, spirit connection thing. So really, are you listening to your voice of truth? Are you trusting your voice? 0 is you're down in that doubt, not practicing any faith, not believing that you matter, that you were created for a purpose. And then 10 is that you have a daily routine. You have a personal connection with your creator. Your faith is strong, and you are living true to who you were born to be, not necessarily who the world is telling you to be, but who you were born to be. That's going to be a 10. Okay. And then number 7 is the autoimmune conditions. Your AI conditions are, that's number 7 in the framework for thriving with autoimmune disease, because they are that outward manifestation of what's happening on the inside. Are you listening to your autoimmune conditions, your symptoms, right? For me, it's fatigue. It's my skin. It's my organs. It's pain, just the cocktail of autoimmune I have with my rheumatoid arthritis, my oral lichen planus, and my systemic lupus. Those are the areas that tend to give me the most indicator. Okay, I call it the indicator lights in the analogy of the journey and the vehicle and the living well lifestyle. What are your indicator lights saying to you? Are you in a flare? Are you in crisis? Are you hurting? Are you exhausted? Okay, that's going to be this lower end of the 0 to 10. And then 10 is you are thriving. You've got energy. Your conditions are in remission, elimination, right? They're gone. So you've got we want some sort of shun instead of some sort of itis, because itis is always an inflammation. It's some sort of condition. We don't want an itis. We want a remission or a submission, or we've gotten it put away. I'm making light of it, but are your flares and your patterns managed and maybe even gone, right? So I can say, as I really am, and I'm not saying this to be proud or boastful at all. I'm saying it because I want you to know you can get there, because I've been at zeros at all 7 of these systems throughout my life. And when I'm in that 5 and under, it shows. And that's where I end up in disease. And when I can be in 5 to 10, right? 6 to 10, if I'm on the upside, I'm making progress, I can feel it. And sometimes it'll slide back down, and then I have to course correct. But if I know those 7 systems and I can plug in, so what I want you to do now is I want you to look at what are the 3 lowest scores. What 3 systems do you have the lowest score in? And that's where I want you to spend your time. Do your deep dive and figure out. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it is a great time to deep dive and really work on those 3 areas. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and it's summer, it's action, right? This is the time to do something about it, not just think about it and plan about it, but do something about it, right? If you're not happy with where your self-care and your movement is, get outside, get moving. Even if it's just walking to the mailbox and back. That's where I started. It was literally adding steps, parking farther away at the grocery store so that I had to walk and not just finding the closest spot I could find. Literally, that is where I started. So don't feel defeated. Don't feel like you can't do this. You can. I promise you, because it feels so good to be thriving with autoimmune diseases. It feels so good to be thriving with life in general and just living in spite of these autoimmune diseases. I use them to make me thrive rather than just as a reason or a barrier to just surviving. Okay, so step out of sad, step into wow, embrace the season change, listen to your body, follow nature, and come and join us with Living Wow. Until next time, shine on. Hey, if you find value here on the Living Wow Out Loud podcast, will you please share it with your friends and take a minute to rate it on the platform that you're listening on? That's how we live wow out loud. You know that more people need hope and they need the messages shared. And that's how we get recognized among all the noise. This is where you find your voice. Will you please share and subscribe and rate so that we can grow?